Yeah.
Yes, Nidhi, for sure, web development is essential to us. Like it's used in many of our projects. You can have a look at our projects through Discord and start contributing, be a core member by filling out the forms. It will definitely be helpful to us. All right. Okay, so without any further ado, we have for you a C++ workshop taken by none other than our project mentor, our C++ mentor of GDSC, and the co-head of 100 Days of DSA. If you don't already know, it's going on currently on Discord, 100 Days of DSA. You can join in and start practicing it. And so, guys, welcome Mr. Hassan Shafkat.
Hello, everyone. So let me just screen share and 1 second. Okay. Can you see me? Boulder? Okay.
Yes, we can see you.
See, okay, let's start. First of all, hello everyone, and I'll be taking your C++ workshop today. I hope that what I give you today will be of something of value and you gain something really useful that you can at least be more informed about C++. Okay. First, a little bit about me. I am Hassan Shafkat, a third-year student in mechanical department at Thapar, but I'm more towards C++. I'm the project manager at GDSC as well as the C++ mentor. Currently, I'm heading and co-heading two projects. One I'm heading myself. It's called Euclid Engine. It's a game engine. We are building it from ground up, as well as I'm co-heading another project called 100 Days of DSA. We solve interview questions daily. I have good information about it in this PPT as well. First, let me just tell you about my experiences. I have mainly worked in C++ along with some Rust, and most of my internship work is also done in C++. I did one internship at -0. It's an autonomous car driving AI. It was originally implemented in Python. Now they needed to convert it into C++ for speed and efficiency purposes and reliability. So that's what I worked in for like 2 months. After that, currently I'm working in C++ and making a game engine, the Euclid game engine. I'll have more information about that. First, let me just show you what it can actually do. This is the code for it. It's quite messy, but like just gives you a general idea. It shouldn't be this long, but I didn't have time to like fix it and everything. This is the game engine. It's completely ground up built by me, other than the GUI. The GUI I used in external library. Other than that, everything else from the shaders, textures, everything. This is completely made in C++. Like you go from making linked lists one day to something like this, like in a few months matter. It's very easy once you get to know the hang of it. Otherwise, it looks complex, but it's really not. You can make something as vast as GTA with this if you wish to. Let me just demonstrate this. So you can like, control literally everything. You can even change the time acceleration. You can change everything if you want. C++ gives you such granular control that you can go even change the way the graphic card works. So you don't even need to mess with the drivers and all. So that was a little bit about me and my projects. Now let me tell you why I chose C++. Like you won't see many people choose C++. What was my special reason for choosing C++? So the thing is that I don't feel comfortable with anything unless I don't understand it completely. Like I tried my hand at Flutter and Android dev. I understand how to make a widget and how to make it move around on an Android screen. Yeah, I completely understand how to do it. But I just don't get why it's showing up on the screen like that. It's always a question mark in my head. So I did C++ in the hopes that I would understand how everything is rendered, how everything happens behind the scenes, right? At the most basic level that I possibly could get to. Other than that, I also like complexity. If something is very complex, I really like the concept of like, making yourself understand what it actually is about. That's why I chose C++. Most of the complex things, algorithms and all, everything happens in C++ and C and a few other system level languages like Rust and C. So what is my aim today? I hope that after this workshop, you understand what C++ is, what are its uses other than interviews. Interview is its most popular use because of many reasons I'll explain later. But other than that, C++ is other uses. Most people don't even know what, most third years don't know what C++ can be used for. Let's start with what C++ is. Everyone, when you Google this, you will find object-oriented programming language. But what does object-oriented programming language actually mean? Object is basically like a struct in C. If you've studied C in first sem, it's basically like a struct. The only difference is that you also have a few functions along with the structure. So it looks very simple, like a very small difference, but this difference makes a world of difference when you use it rightly. It reduces the complexity of your code. If it's supposed to be like 20,000 lines, you can make it much less, and it might increase in size, but it will be much easier to look at and to work in. So why C++? Most languages like Python, Flutter, these latest new languages, they work at a very high abstraction level. So you can make a program very fast. It will take you like half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours max. But in exchange, you lose a lot of runtime speed. So the same program written in Python will take like 6 minutes to run. On C++, it will take like 7-8 seconds. This isn't even an exaggeration. I've done many tests like it. You make the thing from Python into C++ and you require less hardware, which is one of its main use cases. For example, demanding applications, like all of the applications that require great speed or are very hardware specific, like games and etc. They require you to use C++. You can use other low-level languages, but I'll come to why you can't use them for like C or something like for a very big game engine. Also, it reduces complexity with the use of objects. Like you could use C, but if you use C, good luck writing a game engine. It will take you years. But if you just make objects and put different teams on each object, they will be much better equipped to deal with that one particular object, and they can produce much better results. Now, let me give you a list of all the stuff that is made in C++. This surprised me the first time I found out about this. Game engines, all of Unity, you must have heard of Unreal Engine 5, it just came out. Stuff like that is made completely in C++. It's very little C# for the interface and stuff. Adobe Studio, Adobe Photoshop, video editors, Photoshop, all of that stuff, it's also all made in C++. Windows, Linux, and Mac, although it's predominantly made in C, a lot of stuff in these systems is also made in C++. Most importantly, Chromium. It's a base which is used by Google Chrome, Brave that I'm currently using, Firefox, even Discord or Visual Studio's Code. All of this uses Chromium as its base, and Chromium itself is written in 99% C++. As such, we can see that C++ is a very important language. Now let's go for C++ for interviews. Typically in interviews, after they look at your resume and do a screening like this person is allowed, after that, a coding round is held where the candidates must solve a coding question. The solution must run within a given time limit as well. Okay. So many companies, especially in India, they don't allow the use of Python or these such high level languages because it has many advanced libraries. You can instantly solve the question using one single function. They want to see you solve the question, right? But Python is also very slow, so you can't really use it. You will get very big runtimes. As such, when the input is very big, you can't really, the question, it will exceed the time limit. As such, you have to use something very fast, like C or C++. You might think of using C, but I'll explain why it's a very bad idea, because C++ has many advanced libraries. So let me show you something for an example. Let's take an example. This is a question called LeetCode 2 sum. It's a very famous question. Like everyone who's ever tried LeetCode knows this question. You are given an array of integer nums, and it's, for example, let's take 2, 7, 11, and 5. Okay. And you are given an integer target. Target, let's say, is 9 here. So now you must return any two numbers whose sum is equal to target. For example, in this case, we can see 2 plus 7 is equal to 9. Now, this is a very basic question. You can easily just go over it twice, use 2 for loops. For example, one approach is called brute force. You can simply go over it twice. First time, you iterate and check every number with each other, every one sum. So 2 with 7, 2 with 11, 2 with 15. And this way you will find if a number sums up to target. This is very simple, but the problem is that it is very time complex. So just doing this much if we have say 10,000 integers, this list is 10,000 integers long, it will take you 100 million passes, 10,000 into 10,000, so square. That it will take you a lot of time. That's the brute force. That's the first approach. Now, the second approach is binary search. The last approach will not work for very big elements. Like if it's 10,000, it will not work. Time limit exceed ho jayega. As such, we have binary search. In this search, what we first do is we sort this in ascending order, so smallest to largest. After that, we take the first element, subtract it from the target. So 2 minus 9 will be 7. Then in the rest of the list from here till here, we search binary search if 7 exists. What is a binary search? Binary search, you can imagine a dictionary. You have a dictionary. Let's say you want to find the word cat. You open the dictionary right in the middle, and let's say it comes up at K. Now K is after C. You know this. So you go back. You open it again. It comes E. E is also ahead of C. So you open it, the book, the first half again. Now you reach B. Now B comes before C. So you go afterwards. This is called binary search. Now, if suppose the dictionary pages are randomly arranged, there is no set order to them. And now you need to find the exact number. You cannot find it. It's very hard. But binary search makes it very fast. Now, with this, you can solve the question much, much faster. This approach is called binary search. And the third problem, let's say a hash map. Now, the hash map is very complex, but it's much, much, much faster. The thing is, to implement a binary search, you need to first make the array and you need to implement binary search. It will take a lot of time. But if you know C++, you can do it in one line using STL, standard template library. Binary search, you just enter the first element and the last element and the element you need to find, and you can simply find it if it's a sorted array. Right. Now, if you are going to implement this in C, it will take you over an hour. But if you are going to implement it in C++, one line will do the job, and it will be much faster than anything else. As such, C++ is mostly chosen for this type stuff. Now, also, if this question scared you, don't worry. We at GDSC will help you. You can join our 100 days of DSA, and we will explain everything like this. We take 3 questions every day. We solve these 3 questions, and then we move on to the next day. We do this 6 days a week. As such, in the coding interviews, we have a very big advantage. Now, let's get to the skill levels. Pretty straightforward. If you know basic input, output, variables, and functions, you are considered a beginner. This is my own definition. There is no official definition. Advanced would be if you know how to use classes and make objects. If you know how to use vectors, hash maps, all of this stuff, and DSA, you are at advanced level. Now, after this comes a professional level. If you don't want to do C++ as a career, which most people don't do, you only need to know this much, like up to advanced level. You don't need the professional level and all of that. Professional only comes in if you want to make this your career. Then you will be advanced. You will have to cover advanced topics like polymorphism, function overloading, garbage collection. All of this is much advanced topic, but like garbage collection and all of this is used only in big applications. In small applications, you don't need to worry about it. Multi-threading, code optimization, debugging tools. My personal favorite is Valgrind, stuff like this. You will only have to use this if you are trying to become a professional. I will also give you the resources if you're trying to professionally pursue C++ as a career. If not, I will also teach you how to get to this skill level. I have given you a list. It's a GitHub repository. You can go. There are step-by-step ways that you can go from beginner to advanced to like build absolutely acing lead code questions. Like this won't even take you half a minute. Now, how to practice DSA? This is a very simple technique. First, you learn C++ till advanced level. This is basic requirement. I have given the resources in the GitHub repository. I posted it in the comment. Yes, I think I posted it in the chat. After that, you have to learn DSA, data structures. This is what everyone talks about here. But you only need these few topics. You need arrays, linked lists, trees, graphs, and hash maps. Now, pro tip, I did this in second sem, I guess first year. You don't need to spend a lot of time understanding everything in great detail. You can just get a basic understanding of it, solve a few questions, and that will net you much better results. After that, this is where the consistency, this is the hard part. You do 3 questions every day. You do easy questions like the one that I just showed you. You do 3 questions every day till you get so fast that you can do 3 in 1 hour. After this, you start doing medium questions. Medium questions till you can do 2 in 1 hour. This is very hard. This will take you like a month or 2 minimum. Like, at this point, you will already have 200, 300 questions. After this is the like pro level. You don't even actually need to get this good. But once you can get one hard question in 40 minutes consistently, you are already the best at coding interviews. No one will ever be better than you at this for all means and purposes. You will clear any coding interview. After this, I will also like to mention we have 100 days of DSC program. You can come join. We will also help you. We do these questions every day ourselves as well. Ayush, he isn't here today, but he is currently heading it, and he also does DSA. He's very good at DSA. He also does it every day. Now, let me talk a little bit about careers. Careers in C++. Like, most people don't even know these exist. First, you need to design, build, and maintain efficient, reliable C++ code. This is like the main responsibility of any C++ dev. This like basic stuff. After this, designing new products is someplace where C++ has great demand. Like if production grade everything from like banking systems to your OS, everything is written in low level languages because they prioritize speed. If banking system or trading system can be millisecond faster, they save a lot of money. As such, C++ is in high demand in these things. Other than that, you need to suggest and implement optimizations on current products. So to make code faster is what C++ is great at, and that's why it's many times needed. Making code run faster is essential to many companies, and C++ devs, this is one of their main tasks. Now, third is algorithm development. Fourth is algorithm development. Most algorithms you have seen, like you might have read about a lot of them, they are built with speed in mind, right? Most of their task is to reduce time. As such, C++ is a very good default choice because you can just create a class and use it everywhere. Okay. Other than that, working close to your operating system, operating systems also require code to be very fast because a minuscule difference on, say, Linux. I'm currently using Linux. Minuscule difference here means a very big difference. Like all supercomputers run Linux, right? So if it's even a little bit faster, it nets them a very good result. Also, working on legacy code. This is very important. Everyone seems to gloss over this. The point is that this was one of the first languages to be made, like C and C++. The only ones that were made that back and are still used. A lot of code, because of this, a lot of code is written in C++. And most of the time, we as programmers don't have the luxury of rewriting entire code pieces, right? So what we instead do is we use old code. But old code like C and C, all of this works directly with C++. You can literally copy C function and use it in C++ as if it was written for C++. It will work, it will compile very nicely. So these were one of our main tasks. Other than this, I will show you how one of my very simple program, but it will give you a feel of what professional C++ is like and how it is different from what you like lead code and what you have learned in class. Okay. So first, let's start with this. I have included a hashtag. Hashtag नहीं इसको pound बोलते हैं. Everyone calls it hashtag, but okay, let's go with hashtag. Hashtag include glad.h. Glad is a library which basically loads all of your functions for your specific operating system. My Linux, you could be using Windows or you could be using Mac if you're very rich. In that case, all of our functions that the graphic card use will be different, right? So to load these graphic card specific functions, we use Glad. Glad basically makes a list of all the functions and you tell it what you want, it will give you the corresponding function. Other than that, we have glfw. It's basically used to capture my input as well as to like do basic stuff like create a window. You can obviously use specific Linux and Windows commands, but everyone is different. Instead, you just use glfw and it consolidates it all. So I could literally just copy paste this code and compile it for Windows as well because of these two libraries. After that, we have IOStream. Everyone uses this in class as well. This is used for basic cout and stuff. And then I'm including shader.cpp. This is a class I made on my own. I'll explain this later. It's basically for shaders and stuff. Okay, let's start with glfw init. This type of function, these things are what separate what you do in class from what you do in real life. You will never write everything from start to end. You will use some other library to do some basic stuff so that it becomes viable for you to make anything actually productive. We are in this simple function, we are initializing glfw. All it will create all of its variables, all of its stuff that it needs to store in the heap, memory, everything. After that, we are specifying GLFW context version. This is the major version as I'm using OpenGL 3.3. So I set OpenGL major 3 and version minor 3. So 3.3. If it was 5.4, I had set major 4 and minor 5. As such, it knows which OpenGL version I'm using. So now what is OpenGL? OpenGL, you might have heard it. If you are a gamer, you might have heard OpenGL and Vulkan. What are these? OpenGL and Vulkan, contrary to what most people believe, it's not a library or a function. It basically is a specification. It tells like, this is a function name, this is what it should do. So graphic card manufacturer, whatever different one it is, it can implement that function very fast. And then I just simply set it that it's a core profile type application. Core profile basically means that I will control everything on graphic card myself. If you use the other simple profile, open profile, then it won't give you very granular control, but it will make the program much easier. I'm using core profile because I want maximum possible speed that I could get by very granular control. After this, I am creating a GLF window. A window basically, like you see the windows and all, like you create that by this function, glfw create window. I could do this myself as well, but it won't work on Windows or Linux or Mac if I don't use glfw. So the first function specifies 800, it's the width of it, and 600 is the height. So 800 by 600, I'm creating a window and I'm naming it OpenGL window. These null and null are legacy stuff. You just have to keep it there so that it works with old code as well. As I said, legacy, right? This GLFW make current context basically pulls the focus of your context to that window. So that window is the current active window as soon as it starts. And then you load the GL loader. It's glad this one, the first one. Up until now, we were only using GLFW. Now we are just loading GLAD, and GLAD is giving GLFW all of its pointers. Like this function is here for my particular operating system. It will first load my operating system. It will find, okay, this person is using the Linux. You use the Linux, so these are the graphics functions that you have, and it passes them on to GLFW. Then I'm setting up my shaders. You don't need to worry about this. It looks very complex. It's very, very easy. I'll explain it in detail later. Then, now I'm setting up, you might have noticed I'm setting up a bunch of vertices. What are the vertices? Let me explain using this. So any game you play, anything, everything is rendered from -0, -1 to 1, and same in X direction. This is Y and this is X direction. So if I wanted a triangle 0.05 and this, so I supply it with those vertices and it will draw a triangle like that. But everything you see on your screen, you play any game, everything is rendered using 0 to 1 and 0 to -1, this coordinates. Okay. Next, I'm creating a virtual vertex buffer object. Vertex buffer object is where I store these vertices. First, let's ignore this VAO. I'll explain what it is next. First, we focus on the VBO. First, I generate a buffer on my graphic card memory. All of this information is stored on my graphics card memory directly, which is what I use the generate buffer object for. This. It will store it directly on my graphics card. Graphics card memory is very fast. If you need to send information from your CPU to your graphic card, it will take a lot of time. Every time you do it for, like, say, 10,000 objects, for one object like we are doing, we can use it, but we shouldn't. For very large objects, it's compulsory that you use all of that information, you keep it on the graphic card. As such, we first generate the buffer and then we bind the buffer. So whatever we do after this function, we'll change this vertex buffer object. Then we give it the size of the vertices, so it knows how large the data is, and large data is, for example, 6 vertices large. After this, we send the actual data, the vertices, and then GL static draw. This you can change for GL dynamic draw or any other function. It basically tells the graphics card that this information won't be moved around very much because it's static. If it's dynamic, then it will move around a lot. For example, in a game, you might see people, those things move around a lot, but like your health bar or your, for example, the window thing, it won't move around a lot, right? So to save space and make the thing more efficient, we use GL static draw for this particular one. Now let's get to the VAO. Now this stuff is a little bit complex. Bear with me here. First, VAO stores everything after it has been declared, after it's been active, right? So first we generate the buffer object. It's like a big frame. Think of it as a big frame. Now, whatever you bind after this, I bind this VBO, I bind some other VBO. Whatever I bind after this will be stored in this VAO. And VAO is what is sent to the graphics card directly by the CPU. So first we could generate the vertex array object. It's called a vertex array object. And then we bind it. After this, we set GL vertex attribute pointer. Now this means we describe to the VBO what we are using and how can you read it. Now you could, for example, I'm just specifying here the position. You could also specify the color. But how would you tell your GPU that this is the position vector and this is the color? You use it doing this. First, you set the 0. This is the attribute integer. Like at first 0 arrays in C++, everything starts from 0, not 1. So like this is the first one. The first attribute pointer consists of 3 things. So 1, 2, 3, right? It is a float, GL float. This we're telling the graphics card that it's a float that we are using and it's not normalized. This fourth element is called normalization. It's used for if we are using 4 vertices. We don't actually have 4 dimensions in real life. Like there's X, Y, and Z only. But a 4th dimension is also used for calculation purposes. It's only mathematical. It's never in real life. We're telling it, no, we don't have the 4th one in here. So GL falls. Then we give it the actual size of the stride. Stride means to get from one vertex to the next, how much data do I have to skip forward? So I have to skip forward 3 times the size of a float. So 1, 2, 3, and you get to the next vertex data. And the last one is the offset. So if I have some useless data at the start for like 5 bytes, I will tell it void star 5. So you skip the first 5 bytes, and here is the real information starting. Then you enable this vertex attribute array. This causes very frustrating errors if you don't do it. But you tell the GPU that we are now using this element array object 0. So whatever happens to the GPU, it will know that I have to use this for 0th, the first one attribute pointer. Now, this glfw get key, it polls the events. It's asks the keyboard, for example, which input is being currently given. It checks if the window is receiving glfw key escape, if whether or not I have pressed the escape key. If I have not pressed the escape key, then it will continue running this while loop. First, it clears the color of the entire window. And this 0.2, 0.3, 0.3 is RGB values from 0 to 1. So you can use the 255 type value or the hexadecimal value and convert it into 0 to 1. As such, 0.2, 0.3, 0.3 comes out to be like a bluish color. I'll show you in a second. And this 1.0 is the opacity of it. After this, you clear the color buffer bit. As such, whatever is drawn before this will all be cleared. Next, you draw the actual arrays from the triangle. I've set it to the triangle mode. You can set it also to the wireframe. It will show you exact, like in lines, what it is drawing. Currently, it's drawing in the triangle mode. Everything on the GPU is drawn in triangles. Every game you've seen, every curve, everything is drawn in triangles. Because triangles have a special property. You can take any 3 points in space and you can join them with 3 lines and it will form a plane. But no other shape has this property. You can take 4 points. They may form a plane, but they also may not. Right? You could put the third or the fourth point away from the plane. As such, it won't form a triangle and won't form a plane. But triangles have the special property, they will always form a plane. As such, GPUs can draw millions of billions of triangles very, very fast if you use it rightly. After that, we swap buffers. You might have heard about this. This was a rather new invention. It's called VSync, right? VSync. This is using VSync. It asks, instead of creating the original picture, it shows the original picture. Instead of rewriting on top of it, it creates another picture and then it shows that to the screen while it then edits the original picture. So in 2 cycles, it creates a buffer. While this first one is being shown, it edits the second. While the second one is being shown, it edits the first. As such, screen tearing and those problems don't happen. If you don't do this, you can still render it, but it will like sometimes screen tearing occurs if objects are moving around very fast. As such, in the end, we get to GLW poll events. It asks for the keyboard input or the mouse input. You can use any of these inputs, and it will tell you exactly what input is currently being given. Now let's first compile this and show you what it becomes. It becomes a very simple square. It looks very annoying, right? You work so much and it only shows a square. Trust me, it's more annoying than this. But let's first look at why it actually showed a square. First, x, y, and z coordinates. Z is all 0 because it's a 2D object. We're not going 3D. So we set all of the z coordinates to 0, 0.5 and 0.5. It starts at the center, plus 0.5 and plus 0.5. So you get to this point. As such, in second time, plus 0.5 minus 0.5. You get to plus x 0.5 and minus 0.5. You set these points. But it's very difficult to see like this. So let's first delete 3 points. Now let's just comment them out. Who will write them again? And now let's compile it again. Wait. No, I'm in the wrong directory. 1 second. Yep, this is the correct one. I was in the wrong directory. I created before. This 6, this third one, it represents how many vertices to actually draw. So let's just draw 3 first. And this is the result we get. So it only draws this, this, and this point. Now, it may seem very dumb to just draw 3 points, but this is the very beginning of what computer graphics actually is about. This, if you can understand what is going on in all of this code, and you understand it perfectly, that's basically the hard part is now over. Now the fun part begins. After this, you can create great graphics like I did before. I'll show you again. The amount of effort it took me from going to 0 to that triangle was less than the amount of effort it takes from going to the triangle to this. All of this was made using C++ and that simple, dumb code. Like, you can also do this, and I hope you do this because I need people to help me with this. You all, if you can actually learn this, and I'll give you a challenge. If you can do the challenge, I can guarantee you that you will get into GDSC. It's my personal guarantee. Challenge is to make a window in OpenGL to display your name. You display your name, and the bonus is if each letter is in a different color. If you can actually figure it out, how to display your name in an OpenGL window, you get GDSC entry free, my guarantee. So I will give you the GitHub repository link again in case no one else gave it to you. It's in the chat right now, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for such an insightful workshop, Hassan.
Ruk ja. Also, everyone is a lot of juniors asked me, is it mandatory to use Linux? No, it's not mandatory to use Linux, but if you do use Linux, I will respect you more. Thank you. Bol Arush.
So now if you want, you can have your queries.
Yeah.
So now if anyone wants, can have their queries here or to.
Sorry. Prakash, thank you. Wow, people are still here. I thought they'd run away.
Actually, one small point, like Hassan said, if you use Linux, he will respect. Actually, everyone in GDSC will respect you.
Yeah.
So we respect करेंगे अगर Linux use करेंगे.
यार कुछ लोग तो हमारे थर्ड ईयर में भी नहीं यूज करते यार, अजीब है बड़े। चलो कोई नहीं।
I had a query,
हाँ जी हाँ जी, कौन है?
Mayank. So, if like we have to write a name on the OpenGL window, we will be using the same set of triangles to
Yes,
write our name.
you will have to use triangles.
Okay.
ये फिगर इट आउट ना आराम से जाके। Can you re-explain the transfer of information to GPU? Yeah, sure. अच्छा, टास्क सबमिट कैसे करना है पहले ये भी सुन लो यार। टास्क कैसे सबमिट करना है? गिटहब रिपोजिटरी में आपको लिंक शायद अभी शेयर किया है यार। हाँ शेयर किया मैंने लिंक, फिर से कर देता हूँ। So what you do is you go to this GitHub repository, and you put a pull request. अच्छा ये राघव को चला गया, my bad. Everyone. Yes. You go to this repository, you clone it. First you learn, I've given instructions there what all to give and all of the information regarding it. All of the information regarding how to build the project and how you can edit it. So what you first do is you learn C++, basic C++, and you clone this repository, and then you build the project. I've given the instructions there. After that, once you've made your changes, you learn how to push the repository. Push मतलब मैंने क्लोन की गिटहब से मैं खुद उस पर एडिट किया और उसको पुश कर दिया, वापस भेज दिया मर्ज होने के लिए. So I will then sit there and I'll see, okay, you sent this code. I'll copy that code onto my machine and check if it actually prints your name. So PR डालना सीख लेना. गिटहब पे यूट्यूब पे जाके सीख लो how to make pull request and how to push code. गिट सीख लेना. गिट बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट स्किल है यार. मैं फर्स्ट इंटर्नशिप पे गया था, मेरे को गिट ही नहीं आता था. So anything else? किसी ने कुछ पूछा था यार, भूल गया. अच्छा, can you explain the transfer of information to GPU? Sure. So ट्रांसफर ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन टू जीपीयू करने के लिए बड़ा मजेदार सा फंक्शन है ये जीएल वर्टेक्स एरे. बेसिकली आपको ये खुद ट्रांसफर करना नहीं पड़ता. यू जस्ट सेट द डेटा, और जब भी जीपीयू फ्री होता है वो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम और जीपीयू के बीच में आपने बस डेटा सेट कर देना है. ये डेटा है, जब भी जीपीयू फ्री होगा उसकी मेमोरी विड्थ ज्यादा नहीं ओवरड्यू नहीं होगी, वो उठा के डेटा अपने पास ले लेगा. इसको सेट कैसे करते हैं? वर्टेक्स एरे ऑब्जेक्ट सिर्फ यही ट्रांसफर कर सकता है डेटा, इसके अलावा कुछ भी कभी ट्रांसफर नहीं करेगा. आगे और भी एडवांस टेक्निक्स होती हैं, लेकिन इसके अलावा कभी वो कोई और ट्रांसफर नहीं करेगा डेटा. इसी के अंदर पैकेज होके जाएगा. So you first bind the vertex array object. Okay, my bad. फिर से समझाना पड़ेगा. Okay, अब देख रहा है. Okay, vertex array object. What I was saying. Vertex array object is like the frame which sets कि ये data is to be sent to the GPU. After that, GPU will take it when it has time or it has the space. So vertex array data, how do you create? First, you generate the vertex array. After that, you bind the vertex array. You can create like 5-6 vertex arrays. You have to bind each one individually and then set the data. Then you generate whatever stuff. This stuff, all of this, will be automatically bound to this vertex array because currently bind यही वाली की है. अगर मैं कोई और vertex array bind कर दूंगा तो वो उसके अंदर डेटा चला जाएगा. बट क्योंकि मैंने ये बाइंड किया, इसके बाद मैं जो मर्जी कर रहा हूँ, जब तो कुछ और बाइंड नहीं कर रहा, वो सारा सारा डेटा इस VAO में जाएगा. और जब ये सब कुछ क्लियर हो जाएगा, जब मेरा वाइल लूप चल रहा है और मैं ड्रॉ एरे कॉल कर रहा हूँ, तब मेरा जीपीयू देखता है टाइम है, वो उठा के डेटा ले लेता है और फिर अपने पास ही रखेगा. फिर उसके बाद ये सारा डेटा उसी के पास रहेगा. सिंपल. आई गेस समझ आ गया. ओके नाइस. अच्छा, एज सच जो पहले 3 लोग अपना नाम इस पे ओपन जीएल पे एक विंडो बना के अपना नाम उस पर रिप्रेजेंट करके सेंड कर देंगे, उन तीनों का डायरेक्ट इंटरव्यू ले लिया जाएगा. तो कोई स्क्रीनिंग प्रोसेस कुछ नहीं होगा, और मोस्ट प्रोबेबली अगर इतना कुछ कर लिया तो ले भी लेंगे. नो प्रॉमिसेस ऑन दैट पार्ट. इंटरव्यू लेकिन फ्री का गारंटी है. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? कोई और कुछ पूछना चाहता है? कोई और पर्सन, कोई और भी क्वेरी हो सी प्लस से रिलेटेड ना भी हो, बहुत सारे लोग हैं अपने यहाँ पे, जवाब दे देंगे. विल डू पे रेन्यू. आई गेस दैट वुड बी इट देन। किसी को कुछ नहीं पूछना तो मैं 2 मिनट रुक रहा हूँ, उसके बाद फिर चलेंगे। ओह वेट, ये दिखाता हूँ, ये वेबसाइट है। यहाँ मैंने तो बहुत जल्दी जल्दी में समझाया ना, इतना टाइम नहीं था, अदरवाइज आप इस पे जा सकते हो। उसने एक एक चीज एक्सट्रीम डिटेल में जाके बहुत अच्छे से प्यार से समझाई
Your
है।
screen is
Your
not
screen is
shared.
not.
Can you?
दूसरी बार हो गया यार। यार ये देखो यार, बड़ी मजेदार सी वेबसाइट है लर्न ओपन जीएल। ये लाइक ओल्ड ग्राफिक्स जो जैसे पहले पहले लिखा करते थे, ये वो वाली टू परफेक्शन पढ़ाई है उसने। आजकल मॉडर्न ओपन जीएल टेक्निक्स आ गई हैं, लेकिन ये फिर भी वैलिड है। अगर आप लिखना सीखना चाहो, ये बेस्ट, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट रिसोर्सेज, वाइडली कंसिडर्ड वन ऑफ द बेस्ट रिसोर्सेज। वो एक एक डिटेल चीज समझा देगा कि जैसे जो मैं बोल रहा था, 3 ट्रायंगल के डॉट्स दिए, उसका वो पूरा का पूरा मेथड भी समझाएगा एक्चुअली में हो क्या रहा था। इतना टाइम नहीं था, मैं छोटा सा शॉर्ट में। वर्टेक्स शेडर आप देते हो, 3 पॉइंट्स आपने जीपीयू को प्रोवाइड किए, वो पहले उन 3 पॉइंट को जोड़ेगा, उसके बाद उनके ऊपर ज्योमेट्री ऑपरेशंस करेगा, या आप खुद सेट कर सकते हो। फॉर एग्जांपल सबका वाई हाइट बढ़ा दी, उसके बाद रिएस्टराइजेशन करेगा, उनको एक्चुअल पिक्सेल्स में कन्वर्ट करेगा विदाउट कलर। फिर उनके ऊपर कलर फ्रैगमेंट शेडर यूज करके उनमें कलर डालेगा। ये फ्रैगमेंट शेडर बहुत मजेदार चीज है, देख ही लो यार। फ्रैगमेंट शेडर भी पड़े हैं, ऐसे लाइक वियर्ड से आप डॉजी से इफेक्ट्स क्रिएट कर सकते हो फ्रैगमेंट शेडर की यूज से। तो आपके लाइक जो मैंने क्यूब्स बनाए थे वो सिर्फ कलर थे, उनके अलावा आप उनके ऊपर ऐसे वियर्ड वियर्ड इफेक्ट्स भी डाल सकते हो। किसी भी टाइप के इफेक्ट हो सकते हैं, इनको फ्रैगमेंट्स बोलते हैं, फ्रैगमेंट शेडर्स। आप बेसिक कलर उसको दे देते हो, वो उसके आगे खुद अपना खुद ही कर लेता है कि उसको उसके ऊपर क्या चेंजेस लानी है। सपोज रेड ग्रीन और ब्लू, उसके ऊपर आपको कोई और चेंजेस लानी है, सपोज आपको उसको वो बनाना है बहुत इंटरेक्टिव बनाना है एंड सच, तो वहां पे फ्रैगमेंट शेडर आएगा। एंड आफ्टर दैट वो जी टेस्ट, एक डेप्थ टेस्ट करता है कि यार कोई चीज पीछे थी कोई आगे थी, सिर्फ आगे वाली रेंडर करनी है, वो रेंडर करेगा एंड डन। ग्राफिक आर्ट बेसिकली इतना ही काम करता है, इन 3 पॉइंट को इमेज बनाता है और रिप्रेजेंट कर देता है, दैट्स इट। और इसे खेलने में बहुत मजा आता है। एंड आई गेस दैट्स इट। चैट में लोग बोल रहे हैं ये सब गिटहब के रीड में है। हाँ, ये सब कुछ गिटहब के रीड में भी डाल दिया मैंने, सबके लिंक्स वहाँ पे हैं। सी प्लस प्लस सीखने, यार दिखाई देता हूँ गिटहब की रिपोजिटरी, रुक जाओ। तो ये गिटहब की रिपोजिटरी है इसकी, फिर स्क्रीन शेयर की मैंने, नेवर माइंड। यार ये देखो यार, ये गिटहब की रिपोजिटरी है, इसमें सोर्स में मैंने अपना ये जो ओरिजिनल कोड है ये भी दे के रखा हुआ है, मेन डॉट सी शेडर डॉट सीपीपी। इसको छेड़खानी करने की जरूरत है, थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लेक्स कोड है ये, यहाँ से पढ़ने पे समझ आएगा कि एक्चुअली में हो क्या रहा है। उससे अगर ना ही पंगा लो तो ठीक है। उसके बाद बूट कैंप चैलेंज भी मैंने देखा है, अपना नाम लिखना है, डिस्प्ले योर नेम। बोनस है अगर ईच लेटर डिफरेंट कलर में आ गया तो, और बोनस है अगर यार ये ओपन जीएल का गेटिंग स्टार्टेड वाला सेक्शन खत्म कर दो। मेरे को 3 हफ्ते लग गए थे, कोई 3 हफ्ते से कम में कर सकता तो आ जाओ यार। अदर देन दैट मैंने बिल्ड इंस्ट्रक्शंस गिट क्लोन करके भी दे दिए। बस ये ऐसे करके कॉपी करना है, एक टर्मिनल खोलना है, यहाँ पे ऐसे करके पेस्ट कर देना। मैं एंटर नहीं दबाऊंगा, मेरी पहली बन चुकी है, लेकिन बस करना यही है, एंटर करोगे वो बन जाएगा और दिखा भी देगा। फिर डीएसए की भी लिंक्स जो मेरे वो क्वेश्चन मैंने सॉल्व किया था, टू सम वाला, अगर आपको लगता है आप खुद कर सकते हो ट्राई भी कर लो, उसका भी लिंक दिया है। 100 डेज ऑफ डीएसए प्रोग्राम हमारे डिस्कॉर्ड पे चलता है, हम हर दिन 3 क्वेश्चन पोस्ट करते हैं, आयुष करता है, वो आ जाए नहीं, 3 क्वेश्चन पोस्ट करते हैं, तीनों क्वेश्चन हम सॉल्व करते हैं, फिर शाम को बताते हैं यार मेरे से ये वाला खुद नहीं हुआ, ये हुआ, तो फिर डिस्कस भी करते हैं तूने कैसे सॉल्व किया, मैंने ये अप्रोच लगाई, फिर मैंने सोल्यूशन ये देखा। अदर देन दैट डीएसए की प्लेलिस्ट भी है, ये बहुत कंट्रोवर्शियल प्लेलिस्ट है, कोड विद हैरी नाम का एक बंदा है, सबको किसी को नहीं पसंद है इंसान, पता नहीं क्यों, लेकिन मेरे को तो बहुत अच्छा लगा था यार, ये अच्छे से हिंदी में समझाता है। तो इसके यहाँ से पढ़ लो डीएसए, एरेज वेक्टर्स लिस्ट, ये वो सब कुछ समझा देगा जो आपको लीड कोड करने के लिए चाहिए। ये सब कुछ इंटरव्यू प्रोसेसेस के लिए है। और हमारा डिस्कॉर्ड यहाँ से ज्वाइन कर सकते हो, यहाँ पे चैनल है हमारा, ये सब कुछ इंटरव्यू के लिए है। तो अगर आपकी सीजी अच्छी है, आपकी ब्रांच सीएससी वो है, आपकी सीजी 8 से ऊपर है और आपको डीएसए आता है, तो आपको अच्छा सा पैकेज यहीं से प्लेसमेंट से ही लग जाएगा। अदर देन दैट अगर आपको रेज्यूमे बनाना है, बाहर से प्लेसमेंट लेनी है और सी प्लस में एक्चुअली काम करना चाहते हो, शौक है, तो फिर ये लर्निंग रिसोर्सेज मैंने दिए हैं। डुअल बूट विंडोज और लिनक्स सेम पीसी में चला सकते हो, मेरे पास भी विंडोज पड़ा है, मैंने 6 महीने से खोला नहीं, लेकिन जो क्रियो श्रियो ये वाले हमारे मैकेनिकल में होते हैं, सिविल में भी बहुत सारे होते हैं ऐसे, कुछ स्पेसिफिक सॉफ्टवेयर होते हैं जो चलते ही सिर्फ विंडोज में, और उनको स्पीड भी हाई चाहिए होती है, क्रियो हो गया फॉर एग्जाम्पल, उनके लिए विंडोज भी चाहिए होता है। तो एज सच मैंने डुअल बूट छोड़ दिया यहाँ पे। आप इस यूट्यूब की ट्यूटोरियल को फॉलो करो, आपके पास विंडोज भी आ जाएगा और लिनक्स भी आ जाएगा, आप स्टार्टअप के टाइम चूज कर पाओगे कौन सा वाला चाहिए आपको। सी प्लस प्लस और वी एस कोड, जो मैं ये एडिटर यूज कर रहा था ना, इसका नाम वी एस कोड है, अगर आपको ये नहीं पता तो पता होना चाहिए यार, वी एस कोड है, सबसे अच्छा एडिटर यही है। तो इसको सेटअप करना और इसके साथ की C++ सेटअप, मतलब वो कंपाइलर, ये वो सब कुछ, वो भी सब इसी में बताया है। और आपको ये बिल्ड करने के लिए C++ के बेसिक्स तो आने चाहिए, और उसके सेटअप के लिए बेसिक्स ये वाली वीडियो चाहिए। ये वाली वीडियो देखो, वो G++ इंस्टॉल करा देगा, उससे आप अपना कंपाइल कर पाओगे सब कुछ। अदर देन दैट, ये लर्न ओपन वेबसाइट जिसका मैंने लिंक आपको ये दिखा के रखा था, ये वाला है, और प्लेलिस्ट भी है एक, ये है पिक्चरनो की। ये बंदा गॉड लेवल है एकदम, इसने खुद का अपना गेम इंजन बना दिया और लोग यूज भी कर रहे हैं, एकदम कल्ले बैठा था, ये बना भी दिया उसने यार। ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आर्ट्स, नाम सुना होगा, उनका फ्रॉस्टबाइट इंजन है जो मोबाइल डेव के लिए काम आता है, उसमें भी इसने बहुत सारा काम किया है। लेजेंडरी आदमी है, जिसने भी C++ सीखनी होती है ये खतरनाक सिखा देगा। अदर देन दैट बस इतना ही है, एंड आई गेस सबमिट करना स्टार्ट हो जाओ। अगर कोई कर देता तो कंग्रेचुलेशन। वैसे क्यों चाहिए लिनक्स यूज करो, WSL क्यों चाहिए? हाँ, WSL भी कर सकते हो, मैंने सुना WSL अच्छा है। अपेरेंटली विंडोज में सब सिस्टम बना देता है, तो विंडोज ने आई गेस लिनक्स को हटाने के लिए किया था लिनक्स ने विंडोज को हटाने के लिए वाइन इंस्टॉल कर दिया। वाइन लगा के बेसिकली आप विंडोज को इम्यूलेट कर सकते हो लिनक्स में। और गेम्स, मैं भी गेम्स भी खेलता था अभी थोड़ी देर पहले तक, मैं विंडोज वाले गेम्स, विंडोज ओनली गेम्स जो स्पेसिफिकली बनी विंडोज के लिए, वो खेलता था लिनक्स पे। अरे ये अपना वरेनियम जो बोल रहा है शो सर, इसने वो वाली गेम्स खेली थी जो एक्चुअली में अलाउड भी नहीं है। उनने स्पेसिफिक एंटी चीट बनाया था, क्या नाम है, गेंशिन इम्पैक्ट। उनने एंटी चीट बनाया था ताकि लोग चीट ना कर पाए, लिनक्स पे ना खेल पाए, इसने फिर भी खेल ली थी मेरे को बोलता है। चलो नाइस नाइस। और क्या पूछ रहे हैं कुछ? डोंट ट्रस्ट हसन, बेस्ट एडिटर इज विम। इस भरोसा नहीं करना यार, ये जो विम होता है ना, वो एग्जिट ही नहीं हो पाता। वो इसको प्रेनियम को बोलो बताया एग्जिट कैसे करते हैं।
कोलन क्यू,
हट, मैंने
अगर राइट करना है तो कोलन W क्यू लिखते हैं।
मैंने बचपन में किया था एक बार स्टार्ट विम, अभी तक नहीं बंद हुआ यार वहीं का खुला पड़ा है। चलो कोई नहीं, ठीक है फिर। और कुछ पूछना है? तो लोअर ब्रांच वाले क्या कर रहे हैं लोअर कोई ब्रांच होती है यार, मैं भी मैकेनिकल में हूँ, ऐसे तो नहीं बोला करो। कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ये बस थापर वाले इंटरव्यू में नहीं बैठने देंगे, अब बाहर से लगा दो और क्या। वैसे आजकल कोई ऐसे बोलता भी नहीं है कि मतलब लाइक अब इस ब्रांच के होने चाहिए। जो छोटे वाले स्टार्टअप्स होते हैं वो सिर्फ आपका रिज्यूमे देखते हैं और बोलते हैं इसने अच्छा काम किया, आ जाओ। मैंने थोड़ी सी एक्स्ट्रा करनी पड़ती है, थोड़ा सा जज करते रहो। अदर देन दैट सब ठीक है। अदर देन दैट और कुछ किसी ने पूछा है? आई गेस दैट्स इट। और कोई है? यार इतना अच्छा बंदा है, इसको रख लो यार। चैलेंज के लिए कितना टाइम है यार? जो पहले 3 लोग कर देंगे ना यार, उनको मिल जाएगा। पहले 3 देख लो, मेरे को लगता भी 3 लोग कर पाएंगे, लेकिन मतलब देख लो कब तक है। अब रिक्रूटमेंट हमारी होगी ऑफलाइन आके, तो ऑफलाइन से पहले पहले कर लेना। घर पे बैठे हो, टाइम लगाओ थोड़ा सा, पढ़ो ये ओपन जीएल वाला, मजा आएगा। इसके लिए C++ ज्यादा सीखने की जरूरत भी नहीं है, उसमें अगर आपको बेसिक इनपुट आउटपुट आता है वो बाकी सिखा देगा। इसने इंट्रोडक्शन में बोला भी था आई गेस, थोड़ी बहुत C++ वो ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएशन ये वो पानी चाहिए बस, उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं। एनी सोर्स फ्रॉम वेयर वी कैन लर्न डीएसए? हाँ, 2 सोर्सेज हैं डीएसए वाले। एक तो यार मैं सजेस्ट करूंगा, डीएसए पे इतना टाइम मत दो, सीधे जाके क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट कर दो। एरेज अगर आपको आते हैं ना, तो आई गेस थोड़े से क्वेश्चन डीएसए के लगा लो, थोड़ा सा आइडिया लग जाता है। फिर ट्रीज सीखो, ट्रीज के 2-3 क्वेश्चन लगा लो, ऐसे करके 5-7 मेन टॉपिक वही हैं। मेरी पीपीटी में थे शायद। 1 सेक, किधर गया यार? हाँ ये एरेज, लिंक लिस्ट, ट्री, ग्राफ और हैश मैप, अगर आपको ये सारे आते हैं ना, इसके अलावा कुछ चाहिए भी नहीं, वो थोड़े बहुत होते हैं और लेकिन उनको जरूरी नहीं है। काइंडली शेयर पीपीटी। हाँ पीपीटी पे भेज देंगे, कोई उसी पे मैं डाल दूंगा, वो गिटहब पे शाम तक डाल दूंगा। और एल्गोरिदम वाला पार्ट एल्गोरिदम वाला यार, मैंने भी कोशिश की थी एल्गोरिदम सोचने की। लिस्ट ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंट डीएस टॉपिक्स ये मैं शेयर कर दूंगा, पीपीटी यहाँ पे है। लेकिन एरेज, लिंक लिस्ट, ट्री, ग्राफ और हैश मैप, हैश मैप सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट। 90% क्वेश्चन जो एरेज में होते हैं और उनका आंसर ही हैश मैप निकलता है, जो मर्जी कर लो यार। और उसके अलावा हाँ मतलब ये कहाँ से पढ़ना, तो फिर मैं तो कोड विद्यारी बोलूंगा यार। उसका एक उसकी वेबसाइट है, वहां पे वो कोड दे देता है। मैं सिर्फ कोड कॉपी पेस्ट करके पढ़ लेता था कि कोड में हो क्या रहा है, वहां से समझ लेता था यार अच्छा ये ऐसे है। स्टैक और क्यू भी देख लेना वैसे एक बारी, मैं वो इंग्लिश में काउंट करता हूँ, लेकिन स्टैक और क्यू देख लेना। मैप इज नाइस, लुकअप 01। हाँ इतना इनोवेटिव सा सोल्यूशन लगाओ, एंड में आंसर देखो किसी बंदे ने हैश मैप लगा के आपसे आधे टाइम में किया होता है, डिप्रेशन में आता है यार। हैश मैप ठीक से पढ़ लेना यार। हैश मैप थोड़ा सा समझा ही देता हूँ क्या होता है। हैश करना बेसिकली एक फंक्शन होता है, उसका कोई भी इनपुट दो, किसी का नाम दे दो, तो वो आदित्य का नाम देते हैं, आदित्य आप नाम दे दो, वो क्या करेगा आपको एक रिटर्न कर देगा नंबर। फॉर एग्जाम्पल 25 रिटर्न कर रहा है। अब मैं कभी भी इसका नाम हैश करूंगा, मेरे को आंसर 25 ही आएगा। एज सच ये काफी काम की चीज होती है। आपने 100 सपोज एलिमेंट्स ले लिए, आपने कोई भी उसमें से एलिमेंट उठाया, उसको आपने हैश किया, वो उस एलिमेंट पोजीशन पे जाके प्लेस कर सकते हो फिर। तो लाइक उसका लुकअप टाइम इंस्टेंट हो जाता है। मेरे को पूरी लाइन नहीं ढूंढनी पड़ रही, डिक्शनरी की तरह आगे पीछे नहीं करना पड़ रहा, मैंने उसका नाम हैश किया, मेरे को आंसर मिल गया। इसके अलावा और कौन से टॉपिक आने चाहिए फॉर गुड प्लेसमेंट यार? वो सिस्टम समथिंग, सिस्टम क्या बोलते हैं भैया? सिस्टम डिजाइन, हाँ सिस्टम डिजाइन आना चाहिए। और कौन सा होता है? सिस्टम डिजाइन होता है, डीबीएमएस होता है, जो बेसिक वाले टॉपिक्स होते हैं। ये वाले अच्छे से अगर नॉर्मल अपना करिकुलम आता हो ना, और ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड, पता नहीं क्यों मेरे से हमेशा ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड के कुछ सवाल पूछते थे। ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग ठीक से आती हो, एनकैप्सुलेशन क्या होती है, ये वो बेसिक बेसिक सब स्टफ, बस। ज्यादा क्वेश्चन चाहिए होता है इंटरव्यू में, ऐसे हार्ड क्वेश्चन डालते नहीं है। अदर देन दैट आप आना चाहोगे? जब बात करो 2 मिनट आओ।
I guess that's all for today. Thank you everyone for joining in, and the resources will be shared on Discord itself by evening, the GitHub repository link including. So if you have any doubts or queries, you can ask on our Discord channel or our social media handles. So thank you all for joining in.
Okay. वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड ये देख लो, अनिमेश भी है हमारे।
नमस्ते नमस्ते।
नमस्ते भैया। हाय भैया।
राघव को बोल रहे कैमरा ऑन करो।
हाँ करते हैं रुको, कर दिया।
डुअल मॉनिटर सेटअप है ना, तेरे मॉनिटर ऊपर सेट हुआ है ना? तेरे
हाँ
कितने
डुअल मॉनिटर ही है।
कितनी स्क्रीन रखी हुई है तूने भाई?
क्या
कितनी स्क्रीन है तेरे पे?
अभी एक लैपटॉप है, एक मॉनिटर है और 2 और कंप्यूटर बड़े हैं साथ में।
गाइस अब इनफॉर्मल सेशन ही, अगर किसी को GDSC के रिगार्डिंग कुछ पूछना है, अपना कैमरा भी ऑन कर सकते हो, कोई